Thank you, Lenny. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, everyone, for this common space. Now, Wild Woman, before I start, I actually want something from you all. I want to hear you roar. I mean it. So I would like us all to just unmute our mics for a second. It's probably going to sound noisy. We're probably not going to hear everyone, but I want to hear the power of your voice. Are you ready? I want to see some mics unmuted. Let's do this. We're going to make a collective roar. So we're going to take a deep breath, get the body moving, feel the energy pulling up. And after the count of 3, 2, 1, let's roar! Awesome. You probably only heard me or yourself, but I think it's absolutely beautiful for us to activate the power of our voice. I would love for us to start with a poem that I want to share before I go into my speech. If you want, I found that poetry is often really best taken in when we are listening. So if you want to close your eyes for a minute and just listen to my words, you can. But if you also want to read, I'll also have the words on screen as I share. When there is too much to say, silence still speaks on my behalf. Unwarranted, it slanderously voices a meaning louder than the words I dare not whisper. I've been chewing on these words for months, years, but the bolus of hurt and apology and fault and pain and guilt and heartbreak refuses to be assimilated, so I choke on the mountain attempting to pass my cavernous throat. Yet silence manages to saunter through the crevices, weightless but heavy, delivering blows I no longer want to throw and cutting lifelines between me and you. You are the one who said they'd love me, but didn't. You are the one I said I'd love, but can't. You are the one who I didn't love, but said I did. You are the one I want. You are the one separated from me by words and the lack thereof, from things said and unsaid, things done and undone. You are the one I have lost or have yet to find. I imagine that my silence beckons to you in the late night as yours does to me, whispering lies and truths. It betrays my position. But you send no cavalry to my rescue. No negotiations ensue. So my silence meets your silence out on the open pastures. Maybe they will succeed at the love we could not capture. That was Silence, a poem that I wrote in 2015. And when I wrote this poem, it was originally to a lover lost to miscommunication. But as I listen to it today, I imagine that this poem about silence could be about our mothers or fathers. It could be about our brothers or bosses, people in our community who we have failed to connect with because we've chosen silence instead of the bridge of communication. Today, I'm talking to you change makers about how to communicate with confidence and break the chains of silence. We're going to be looking at how you can speak your truth, set boundaries, navigate relationships, especially when difficult emotions arise. Because oftentimes what silence hides is not someone who doesn't care. It hides a lot of heavy things that we may not know how to manage and how to deal with. So how can we get those words out so that we actually can effect change? Now, I know that I am in the right place because I am among women who identify as cycle breakers and change breakers. You'll know that you're in the right place if you feel like it is your mission to break inner and outer limits. So you're challenging generational curses, you're challenging the limits in your relationships. You're challenging what it means to be a woman. You're challenging what it means to be wealthy. If you're someone who's doing that, you're in the right place. If you are on a mission to go from insecure to influential, which means that you know that there is something really powerful that your soul has to share with the world, but you kind of feel a little bit hesitant about it. You feel a little bit insecure. You wonder, do I know how to speak well enough? Can I actually talk in a way that impacts people? Can I be influential? If you're on that mission, this talk is going to be valuable to you. Also, if you are on a mission to master clear and confident communication, Monique just spoke about the importance of our style, communicating our confidence. The way we communicate in our words does the same. It doesn't matter how skilled or knowledgeable you are. If you are unable to hold the attention and actually pierce through the veil to get people to listen to you, then you're going to be less impactful. So if you want to be able to make sure that the value that you have actually touches the people it needs to touch, then this is going to be valuable to you. I'm currently reading this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I would highly recommend it to any of you who have not written it. I want to say this quote that she's written: though her soul requires seeing, the culture around her requires sightlessness. Though her soul wishes to speak its truth, she's pressured to be silent. As change makers, this is the challenge that we have. Whether you're changing the way that your family thinks about love, whether you're changing the way that people manage money, whether you're changing how we show up in the world as kind and compassionate with each other, oftentimes it's inconvenient for us to actually speak these things. And so it does take a certain level of confidence to be able to step out and say, I'm willing to disrupt, I'm willing to challenge the norms. How we do that? Well, I want to introduce you to the confident chain-breaking communication roadmap. This is the roadmap that I take my clients through. We start with going through clarity, making sure that on a personal level, you know exactly what it is you have to say. We then move on to compassion on an interpersonal level. How do you connect with your emotions and also the emotions of the people you're talking to? This could be in family relationships. They could be in the workplace. This could be on a summit call. We then move on to consciousness. How is your message divinely inspired? And I find that this is actually the core of everything. When we are able to connect to a higher understanding and a deeper knowledge of why we are doing the things we're doing, it's going to be a game changer when it comes to confidence, especially because if you know that your message is something that has been sent by the divine, how could you not have confidence in that? The next part of this roadmap is communicating with conviction. You're able to pierce through the veil of any context, and especially in the professional realm, where the precision of what you say expertly supports your message. So people have to listen. And then we finally come to confident communication, where you're able to radiate an energy that speaks without words. Today, we're just going to be looking at the personal and interpersonal context, and I'm going to be giving you some practical tips on how to build confidence here. This is the foundation, and so this is how we're going to be working today. But if you want to move further on, a gift that I'll have for you at the end is my Story to Stage 3-part masterclass series that helps you get clear on whatever your core message is as that soul with a burning desire to share something with the world. I help you master impromptu speaking skills. So if you are on a panel at a summit like this one and you're asked questions, how can you respond in a way that grabs people's attention and also gives them the information they need without nerves and without worrying? I actually have a framework that I called the Rapid Speaking Framework. It's RAPID. It's in there. It's going to break that down for you. And then we also talk about how you can use storytelling frameworks to master bringing your personal story to the stage. So this is going to be available for you at the end of this tiny, very short presentation, but very impactful, hopefully. About me before we go into it. I am Chereese La-Vonne, a public speaking, communication, and confidence coach who helps change makers and cycle breakers go from self-censoring, that means you're afraid to say what you gotta say, to mastering the art of speaking their truth in every area of their lives. There are certain ways that my soul has shown up in the world that has supported me in becoming a good coach for you or other change makers out there. Some of these ways are, I'm a keynote speaker. I've been a television and radio presenter. I've also been a pageant queen. These things have supported me in mastering eloquence, diction, things like tone and pitch, and knowing the very technical skills when it comes to public speaking. Apart from that, on the creative side, I've been a poetry competition winner nationally, a performing artist internationally, a product designer. My degree is actually in architecture, and I have a master's degree in designed objects. This creative aspect supports me with helping you create presentations, for example, the one that you're looking at on my screen, but also with being able to translate very complex ideas into bite-sized things that people can understand. Apart from that, I'm bilingual. I'm a world traveler, a digital nomad. I currently live in Mexico City, originally from Jamaica. And I'm a yoga practitioner and a bikini fitness athlete, which means that through my travels across the world, I have cross-cultural touch and reach that gives me a certain sensitivity that supports my clients with talking in different contexts. And then also on the body side, I can support my clients with using their body as a tool to master their confidence and also their influence in the way that they're speaking. So let's go a little bit into my story before I tell you exactly how you can use these tools for your benefit. There are certain chains that I've broken with my confident communication. Some of them have been more challenging than others. One of the first ones I want to highlight is challenging religious abuse in my family. This is something people don't talk about. In Jamaica, where I'm from, it's very normal for people to use religion, for example, to justify things like child abuse by beating children, or to justify things like what I consider sexual abuse by creating a whole story of shame around someone's sexuality. Throughout my life and my experience, this is something that I have spoken up about directly with my family, on online platforms, on interviews. This is something that I think is very important for us to challenge, and it has not been easy, and I have received a lot of flack for it, but it is something that I have broken the silence on, at least in my specific community. Another thing is mental health. I have advocated for mental health awareness in Jamaica. As a pageant queen, I launched a program that was internationally and nationally reached through Jamaica, where I spoke about the importance of mental health to students and was able to, again, be on radio, television, online, supporting this message. Finally, I came out as queer to a very conservative family and country. Jamaica is known to be one of the most homophobic countries in Jamaica and in the world. And as a bisexual woman, it felt important for me to talk openly about that, even though that's something we don't usually talk about, because I know that in my speaking, I'm creating space for more acceptance of people of all orientations. So let's go into it. Let's get into exactly how you can build more confidence in your communication to break the chains of silence. We're going to start first with the personal context, communicating with clarity in a way that your mindset supports your core message. Question for everybody, would love to see it in the chat. Who is at the center of your personal life? Who would you say is at the center of your personal life? Let me see in the chat. Let me see if I can see it in the chat. Who would you say is at the center of your personal life? Okay, I'm seeing me, I'm not sure, I'm seeing me, my husband, my family. All right, my creator, I love that. You know, a lot of times when we think about our personal lives, we always think about all the other people that are involved. But I really want us to get to a place where we start to understand that the center has to be you, the person, you are at the center of your personal life. Why is this important? It's important because if we are spending our time thinking a lot about the husband and the family and the dog and everything else, but not ourselves, we may run the risk of having thoughts that are not actually supportive to us. You know, a lot of times, again, we think about this as women and the way that we have been socialized. Women were socialized to nurture and to care for. And I've had this thought often when I recognize that as I am meeting different people, friends and partners and lovers and dating, there's an expectation often when we create a relationship that I must consider another. And of course, you must consider another. Of course, we must. But if we consider another before considering ourselves, who considers us? How do you show yourself compassion when you are thinking about yourself in your personal life? Now, I told you that one of the chains that I broke was the chain of coming out as queer in my family. Now, I have to tell you, that was actually a devastating result. My family outcast me, meaning my mom, my dad, my siblings, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, because as I told you, Jamaica is an extremely homophobic place. And I lost a lot of the very meaningful connections to me. What did that do? That meant that I was thrust into a very painful space where I was the one who was responsible for showing up for myself. I would joke to my friends at the time that I would say to them, you know, I think I'm actually polyamorous because no matter who else I love, I am my first lover first. And I would have conversations with myself as a lover talking to that other lover. I would say, Chereese, what do you need today? How are you feeling? Okay, I understand why you're feeling that way. Here's what we're going to do. And I literally would speak out loud with compassion to myself because I needed it. When we are in relationships that are supportive, it is absolutely beautiful to have that connection and that support and that compassion from other people. But we must also remember that that is primarily our first responsibility. And then I want to ask you, what does your physical reality say about your internal reality? I know a lot of you are probably familiar with Louise Hay. Louise Hay is an author who talks about the metaphysical realities of how illnesses show some level of emotional distress. I totally soaked up Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And I looked at all of the challenges that I was having in my life, anxiety, issues with my gut, skin issues. And I looked at the affirmations that she wrote. And I think earlier someone was talking about affirmations earlier today as well, and how with neuroplasticity, we can rewire our brain. Yeah, Teresa, I love Louisa as well. I mean, she's been a lifesaver for me. And I would use her affirmations daily to support me. I wrote out a whole list based on all of my ailments. I recorded that list, and I would use that daily to support me in rewiring my mind. Why does this matter? Because if you feel congruent in yourself, then you're going to be more confident speaking with others. So let's just go over a quick checklist of the personal confidence checklist, remembering these quotes: as within, so without, as a woman thinketh in her heart, so is she. Everything that we think within, we are creating. So your 4 steps: affirm your worth. Start with the belief that you are worthy of speaking up and that your desires and your well-being matter. Next step, reframe negative thoughts. Every time you catch yourself thinking something negative, write it down and rewrite it in a positive way. And I'm thinking of Lorraine's talk earlier. And when you were speaking, Lorraine, if you're still on here, I was feeling like, yes, I'm going to talk about that too. And I love that you were talking about it from a scientific point of view as well. Third, use the power of your written word. I often do stream of consciousness journaling where I'll just set a timer, or I'll decide I'm just going to write for a page or 3 pages without thinking, just writing, to catch any sort of recurring negative thoughts. And then once I identify those thoughts, I start to challenge them and rewrite new beliefs. And fourth, speak your truth daily. Write down your affirmations, say them to yourself throughout the day, record them, listen to them at different times, put them on your phone, put an alarm on your phone to remind you to say your affirmations. You are reworking neural pathways here, and really practice speaking kindly to yourself until it becomes second nature. All right, let us move on to question for you. I want you to write this question down and just take it after this session. What negative thoughts have you been holding on to recently? What negative thoughts have you been holding on to recently? Take this question with you, work on it after a session, and see how you can reframe it to build confidence within yourself. All right, now let's talk about the part of communicating interpersonally with compassion, okay? What do boundaries have to do with confidence? I think yesterday or earlier this morning, someone was talking about boundaries. Mona was talking about boundaries. Boundaries are here to support connection. They're not here to destroy it. So a lot of times when we've been hearing people talk about boundaries recently, it's from a place of aggression and fierceness. And I want you to realize that it's not so much about that. How does codependence affect our confidence? Codependence is when someone believes that they need to take care of the needs and desires of someone else before their own. And if you were doing the work on your personal self, you'll probably come to recognize that you matter enough to be considered as well. Your interpersonal confidence is going to be positively affected by you working on your personal confidence to recognize that you deserve to be considered. Does your belief system support your ability to set boundaries? Personally, I trust that life aligns everything according to the power of my intention. So I trust that if I ask the universe, hey, can I have people around me who speak well and honor me and I feel respected by? One of two things will happen. The people around me will be transformed to start speaking well to me, especially because I'll be able to confidently communicate it to them. Or I will communicate it to them. They may say, I don't want to do that. And then they leave and they move out of my experience. And then another question for you, can you communicate from a place of sovereignty? So sovereignty means understanding that you have the right to determine what happens in your space, in your kingdom. So quick checklist for you, interpersonal confidence checklist. Two cannot walk together unless they are agreed is the quote I want you to remember. First thing, just like in the personal checklist, you're going to affirm your worth. You want to start with the belief that you are worthy of speaking up. Secondly, you're going to affirm the other person's freedom. We are not setting boundaries from a place of trying to control. We're setting boundaries from a place of understanding what matters to us, but also recognizing that a person has the opportunity to meet it or not meet it. Third, you're going to detach from the outcome and prioritize self-care. And this is where your belief systems come in handy. You cannot control how other people respond to your boundaries. Their reaction is a reflection of them, not you, but you must take care of yourself. And fourth, allow space for people to exit your life. Be okay with that possibility. Give yourself the compassion that you need to deal with the grief of people who choose to leave your life if they're unable to honor your boundaries. So one more question for you to write down and take with you before we wrap up. Is there a relationship that you have been dishonoring yourself for? This is a question I want you to take into your journaling session. Is there a relationship that you have been dishonoring yourself for? And using that checklist, I want you to see how you can approach that from a new place, from a more confident place, to break the chains of silence. And this is the roadmap very quickly again. And that is it. That is my time. I want to thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Your gift is going to be my masterclass series, Story to Stage. You can find it there at the link. I'll also put it in the chat, bit.ly/story2stage. And also put a link to my Google Doc with other information about me. Thank you so much. Lenny, thank you so much. Christy, for this opportunity. And thank you all, wild women, for shouting with me and for breaking the silence.
Thank you so much, Chereese. This was absolutely amazing. I feel so good. You know, I love your voice. It's just so soothing. I feel very, very good. I'm so grateful for all that you have shared with us in this session. It's so important to be able to be confident and to understand that we are all deserving of that confidence and really changing our lives. So thank you so much.